Look closely at a coin or a paper note or just a number glowing on a screen. We hand these little things back and forth every single day. But here is a strange question that almost nobody stops to ask. What actually makes money money? The metal is barely worth anything. The paper is only paper. So where did this idea come from? And why do we all believe in it? You have probably heard the usual story. Long, long ago, people simply swapped things. You raise chickens, I make shoes, so we trade. The trouble is what teachers call the double coincidence of wants. To make a deal, I have to want your chickens at the very same moment that you happen to want my shoes. If our wishes do not line up, no swap can happen. And so the story goes. Clever humans invented money to fix it. It is a tidy story. There is just one problem. When anthropologists, the scientists who study human cultures, went looking for a village that actually ran on pure barter, swapping goods all day long with no money at all, they could not really find one anywhere. People do barter sometimes, but usually it turns out to be people who already know money and simply have none on hand. The neat little tale, it seems, may be mostly a myth. So, what did people do before coins? Mostly, they simply trusted one another. In a small community, you do not trade a chicken for shoes on the spot. You just give your neighbor the shoes, and everyone quietly remembers that now they owe you one. A favor here, a gift there, a debt carried gently in everyone's head. This soft web of who owes whom is a kind of credit, and credit, it seems, is very, very old. One anthropologist, David Graeber, made this idea famous. He argued that debt and credit came first, and that coins arrived much later. Now, scholars still argue about this, warmly and often. Some say he pushed the point a little too far. The truly honest answer is that nobody was writing things down yet, so we cannot be completely sure what came first. But the simple barter, then money, then credit ladder, most experts no longer trust it. For our first real clues, we travel to Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, in what is now Iraq, more than 5,000 years ago. There, people pressed marks into soft clay tablets with a sharpened reed. And here is the lovely surprise. Some of the very oldest writing that humans ever made is not poems and not prayers. It is receipts, patient little lists of grain, of sheep, and of exactly who owed what to whom. In these cities, value was measured in two everyday things: barley, the grain that people ate, and silver, weighed out carefully on tiny scales. They even had a word, the shekel, for one settwe of silver. But notice this, a shekel was not a coin. There were no coins yet anywhere on earth. It was simply an agreed weight, a shared ruler for measuring worth, kept safe and counted inside the temple and the palace. With writing, a debt could leave your head and live on clay. People borrowed grain and silver and promised to pay it back, sometimes with a little extra, what we call interest. But debts can grow heavy. When too many families sank under them, some kings did a remarkable thing. They declared a clean slate, wiping the debts away so everyone could begin again. Money, even back then, was already tangled up with mercy and with power. Elsewhere, people reached instead for special objects that everyone agreed were precious. The most famous were cowries, small, shiny seashells. They were pretty, very hard to fake, and easy to carry. And for thousands of years they passed from hand to hand as money across Africa and Asia. We call this commodity money, money that is also a thing rare and lovely enough that almost everyone is happy to be paid in it. And it was not only shells. In different times and places, people used salt, cattle, beads, blocks of tea, even small bars of metal. In ancient China, people cast little bronze copies of cowrie shells. What all of these share is one quiet agreement: this object holds value, so I will take it, trusting that the next person will take it too. Money, you start to see, is less a single invention and more a habit we keep choosing to keep. Now travel to medieval England, where money could even be a stick. A wooden tally stick was notched to show an amount that was owed and then split right down the middle. Each person kept one half, and the matching grain of the wood proved the deal was real. The stick itself was almost worthless. Its whole value lived in what it recorded: a promise, a debt, carefully written in wood. Here is the clever part. The king let people pay their taxes with these very sticks, and the moment a ruler will accept something for taxes, suddenly everyone wants it. So the sticks began to circulate, traded along like money, simply because the crown stood behind them. It hints at a powerful idea, that money can be deep down an obligation, backed by whoever happens to hold the power. So, when did true coins finally arrive? Surprisingly late. The first coins we know of were struck around 2,600 years ago in Lydia, a kingdom in what is now Turkey. The exact date is still debated, but that is the rough moment. They were made of electrum, a natural blend of gold and silver washed down, the old legend says, from a river that ran bright with the metal. But the real invention was not the metal, it was the stamp. Each lump was pressed with a royal mark, often a lion's head. That little stamp was a promise. This piece holds the right weight of precious metal, guaranteed by the king. Now traders no longer had to weigh and test every lump on a scale. They could simply count their coins, trusting the seal. Trade suddenly grew faster, and money, for the first time, had a face. The idea caught fire. Soon a Lydian king named Croesus, so rich that his name still means wealthy today, was minting separate coins of pure gold and pure silver. Neighboring Greece and the mighty Persian Empire copied the trick within a few short generations. From a small handful of stamped lumps in one little kingdom, coins began rolling steadily outward across the whole ancient world. Why did coins spread so fast? Because they were wonderfully handy to rulers. A king could pay his soldiers in coins and then demand those very same coins straight back as taxes. That simple loop fed armies, filled treasuries, and pulled busy marketplaces into being all around it. Coins were not just convenient for traders, they were also a quiet, powerful tool for building and running a whole state. And money kept on getting lighter. Carrying heavy coins along long roads was risky, so people began writing notes that promised to pay the bearer a certain amount in gold. In time, those paper promises became money in their own right. Then money became numbers in ledger books, then numbers glowing on screens. Step by step, money drifted further and further from any solid thing, and closer to a pure idea. Far out in the Pacific Ocean, on the island of Yap, people show us this idea at its very purest. Their money was rye, great carved stone wheels, some taller than a person and far too heavy to ever move. So they simply did not move them. Everyone just remembered who owned which stone. One famous rye even slipped into the sea, lost forever, and yet its owner stayed wealthy, because everyone still agreed that it was his. And that is the quiet heart of the whole story. A stone resting at the bottom of the sea, a note that is only paper, a number that is only light on a screen. None of these are really worth much at all by themselves. They work because we all agree that they work, and because we trust that the next person will agree too. Money in the end is not a thing. It is trust made countable. So how was money really invented? The honest answer is that there was never one single moment, and no tidy ladder leading neatly from barter to coins to cards. Instead, there were many threads woven together over thousands of years, favors and gifts, debts written on clay, shells and sticks and stamped gold, all tangled gently into one. Scientists are still patiently untangling them, and that unfinished puzzle is part of the wonder. So, look again at that coin or that note or that glowing number on your screen. It is not really the metal or the paper or the light. It is a promise, passed along a vast invisible thread that connects you to everyone you will ever trade with, and to people who lived and trusted and kept their word thousands of years ago. Money was never really just money. It was always quietly us learning to trust one another.